getting too chilly.
I want to call to order the July 14, 2026 Select Board meeting. If everyone could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, item number 3, executive session per MRS Title I, Section 405-6A, personnel matters. Take a motion to enter executive session.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? All right. appropriate executive session.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? And no actions for the moment. Number 5, approval of the minutes of June 23rd, 2026.
Move to approve the minutes of meeting of June 23rd, 2026. I second that.
Any discussion? All in favor? 5-0. Who's doing the notes? Are you taking the minutes? Yep. Okay. Let's see. Thinking over there typing.
Oh, yeah, she's typing too.
All right, item number 6, new business, 2026-27 tax commitment. In your packets, you will find the tax calculation worksheet prepared by the assessor's agent for the municipal tax assessment warrant. Included also are the proposed options for this year's tax calculation. Dennis Perubi, O'Donnell Associates will be present at the meeting.
He's here.
And
Hi, Dennis.
good evening, Dennis.
Good evening. By means of introduction, I'm Dennis Barabee. I'm the assessing agent for the town. You folks, as the Board of Selectmen, also are the Board of Assessors, and so take off your selectman hat, put on your assessor's hat for the next few minutes. I tried to put some paperwork together in order for you so that we could kind of walk through it, and it would give you an introduction to the tax rate. And, you know, a lot of the stuff that I do is interpreting the numbers that we have, and so I want to kind of share that with you. So on the first page of my handout, there was a memorandum that is really the calculations for the TIF districts. It shows how we calculate the fund amounts that go into the TIF district. It'll be discussed a little bit further on in the tax rate calculation form as well. So I'm going to leave that brief for now, and we'll just continue to go through the steps. Now, in your packet, there should be a form called Main Revenue Services 2026 Enhanced Betty Municipal Tax Rate Calculation Form. If you see that one, the one on the top, I'm going to take a little bit of time to go through the numbers, tell you where the source of those numbers are and where we are relative to where we were. So the first line is total taxable valuation. We are standing at $2,578,860,270, which is an increase from last year of approximately $43 million. So the new construction that's going on around town, all of that added to the tax rolls has added a significant amount of valuation to the town. You know, I've worked here since 1995, I believe. We've never had a $43 million bump in our values. I think it has a lot to do with the new market that we are in and the level of construction activity we're seeing. So that said, those are good positive things. The personal property number stands at $22,520,000. That's up $1.6 million. That's, again, a positive growth number, considering that every year with personal property, you have to depreciate the items that are already existing. So that means we've got new items being brought in, new equipment being brought in for businesses. Those are all good things. Take those numbers, then you take the line 3 is total taxable. That's personal property and real estate added together. Line 4 is a calculation on the homestead exemption. Property owners who are resident property owners get a reduction in their taxable value of $25,000 on the individual tax bill. That exempt value, the state partially reimburses the town for that lost value. So the mechanism for calculating that amount is here, where you see the original number being $29 million on homestead exemptions, and they're reimbursing us on the $22 million, which is a percentage of that. So that gets added. Again, the final number of the valuation numbers are the Betty numbers. Betty is a synonym for business equipment tax exemptions. So property owners who have certain eligible equipment can file for the exemption. They don't get taxed, but again, we get reimbursed from the state. So this is the mechanism for calculating that. So the line 6 is the valuation base. It includes the total land and buildings, personal property, and the amounts that we add back in from the homestead and the Betty. That is the number that we will then use to calculate against the levy to determine the tax rate. Okay? As we go down through the assessments, which are starting at line 7, we see the county tax. County tax is $1,238,032. That's up approximately $100,000 from what it was last year. You know, that's, then we look at lines 8 and 9. I'll talk about those in tandem, because what we have there is the municipal appropriations and the TIF money, all of which I would say are town revenue, town appropriations. Looking at those two numbers, we have a TIF number that is down dramatically, and the appropriations are up, but the total is $500,000 increase from where we were last year.
Yeah, excuse me, Dennis, can you just share with people what TIF is, real quickly, please?
Yeah, TIF is a tax increment financing district. So we have set up a couple of districts in the town that are, essentially it's a incentive to the developer to come in and develop the projects. And so involved in that incentive, there are captured resources. So the value that is added after a certain, we start with the original assessed value, then the captured value, the value that's added to the project, is captured, and those tax dollars are defined as the TIF revenues. Now, we have TIFs that have credit enhancement agreements, where the money is funneled back to the developer. There's a percentage of that, and the town keeps a percentage of that. There are TIF allotted expenditures that the town can do within the TIF. So we have 2 TIFs that are have credit enhancement agreements, the Harrison Road TIF and the Woodlands TIF. We have a 3rd TIF that we have not funded this year, the 302 TIF, which is it's a municipal, it goes, the money comes to the town directly. And so I believe that we have decided that the funds that were existing in that account didn't need to be enhanced anymore. Because of the revaluation and the reassessment, it's created a situation where we have a significant captured assessed value that needs to be looked at, and that the TIF was created back in 2005 and uses market values from 2005. And so it resulted in us putting nearly $1 million into that TIF last year, which is stifling on the tax rate. So we're looking into that, and there's likely to be some changes coming along on that end. So that's what a TIF is. Short,
Thank you.
as short as I can bring.
That's shorter than what you initially told me when I met you.
Well, you know, I'm trying. Final appropriation number is the school local appropriation number. That's up about $555,000. So in total, line 11, which is coming in at, this is a total appropriation, total amount of money the town needs to run their operations, is 27 million, just a bit shade over 27 million, which is 1.1 million more than last year. So, given the size of your budget, it's not unusual from what I see. I do this for a lot of different towns. The allowable deductions, lines 12 and 13. The town has certain revenues that the town gets through sources other than taxation. Excise taxes are a good example of that. And so these revenues are used to offset the taxes. Okay? Line 12 is called anticipated state revenue sharing. The state allots the towns a certain amount of revenue from their coffers to offset taxes. And so that is the money that the state would contribute to the town this year. It's up, it's $699,000. It's up $66,000 from last year. The other revenues include other revenues that the town has on hand. I'm not able to get into detail on that, but I can tell you that the revenues are $3,557,000, which is about $390,000 less than last year. So those things are all, again, in the end, we have to accommodate all of that. So you take your Line 14, which is your total deductions, you subtract that from line 11, and line 15 is your net to be raised through local property taxes. So that's the amount of money we need to collect from property owners, okay? As we get down to the, and I'll say this is the meat of the conversation here, we get down to where we actually start to determine the rate, right?
I think,
Dennis, hold on. Bob had a question.
Bob, yes.
No, I don't have a question, but on line number 15,
Mm-hmm.
that's the total amount.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't give that to the public.
I'm sorry, it's $22,760,077.92. That is the, what was be called the tax levy. Okay? So, line 16 calculates the maximum allowable tax, because there is such a thing as non-collection of taxes. You know, you send out tax bills to everybody, and if everybody paid 100% of what they owed, you would need to have an overlay. But you have to have contingencies because things happen, and so the overlay is a mechanism that the state has in the tax rate calculation that allows you to collect up to 5% over and above your levy to ensure that you have enough monies to operate your expenses as they come up. So that $23,898,081.82 is the maximum allowable tax, the maximum amount of money the town could generate. So the next line, 17, is where the minimum tax rate is calculated. And so it takes the number from line 15, the 22 million, and divides it by the valuation on line 6. And it expresses what would we be considered to be the minimum rate that we could have, okay? And that would be with zero overlay, and that is, you know, what those numbers would translate to. The next line, line 18, is where we calculate the maximum rate, right? In that, you can determine, okay, how high can you go with the rate without exceeding your legal limits on the overlay. So, that said, we are looking at a rate that would be anywhere between $8.65 to $9.08. So I've got 3 different rate options here that we're gonna talk about. This one happens to be the one, if you look at it, on line 19, it takes the amount from line 16, which is the amount the levy, and it divides it, and it multiplies it by a selected rate. And that first selected rate I'm presenting to you is a rate that would be $8.67. For public consumption, that would be 42 cents more than last year. Last year was $8.25. So, it calculates the tax for commitment, which is the amount we would get at the end of line 19. It also calculates your homestead reimbursement on line 21, your Betty reimbursement on line 22, and the overlay. Now, the reason that those numbers show up here is because they're rate sensitive. If you pick a different rate, you're going to end up with a different overlay. And so this is essentially what we're talking about here with the 3 rate presentations that I have. The first one is $8.67, and presented with that is I've included what we call commitment papers, which is after you decide on a rate, you vote on the rate as a Board of Assessors, you then have to sign the commitment. There are 4 places for each of you to sign on those papers. We will need your signatures after this is done, okay? So we're gonna skip to the next set of rates, which is if you just grab, move 1, 2, 3, 4 sheets, and if you kept them in the same order, we'll all be at the same place.
I didn't. See, this is the way it's, I didn't go.
If you guys look at the top of the page, it'll be at the top of the page, this is not what Dennis has, but it'll say 00870.
Oh, okay.
So now there's that.
Yeah.
That'll be the second choice.
Yep.
Great. Somebody put some cheat notes on
They
it.
did.
Good for you.
I learned from last year.
I appreciate that. Okay, so the next rate, we're gonna skip all the stuff at the top, because we've already kind of been through all of that, right? We don't need to repeat all of that. But this one selects a rate of $8.70. Okay, that would be 45 cents higher than last year. Now, again, because I'm a mathematician, I like numbers that are in intervals of 5 when it comes to tax rates, because it makes much better rounding on the tax bills, but there is implications of that, right? And so if we look at that bottom line, the overlay, the first rate that we had was 867, that would have given us an overlay of 58,000, right? This rate will give us an overlay of 136,813.82.
That's a huge switch.
And for purposes of just presenting the final option, the final option that we have here is for a rate of $8.75. That would be a 50-cent increase in the tax rate. It results in an overlay of $267,758.41. So you can see at this level of valuation, penny makes a difference.
Yeah.
Huge difference.
It's huge, huge money, right? So we were a $1 billion town before last year. So it does have an impact. And so those are your options, your rate options that we're presenting. And I'll leave it open for discussion, I guess.
Question from the board.
I have a question. So these two, the two rates on the page that we first looked at, the 867 page, that was the maximum and the minimum, right?
That's
minimum
probably on
and
the
the maximum.
lower end of things.
Okay.
The lower end
So
of the
what
scale.
is this one called? The third?
I just present 3 options, so I
Oh,
wanted to
okay.
present you numbers that made sense given the past history of the board, knowing what their tolerance has been for overlay in
Okay.
the past. You know, it's kind of, you know, each group has their own philosophy on how they want to use that, and you'll develop your own as well. Knowing that last year we had, I think it was a $100,000 overlay, and we had a revaluation, so we had a lot of requests for reviews. It's part of the game, part of the nature of the business. So, you know, this year, you know, I looked at a more traditional overlay as the first rate that I provided you, but knowing that we're at such big numbers now, you know, providing you with the other options was also, I thought, prudent to do, and let you folks decide what you think is the most appropriate.
So I have one more question. So like on an average tax bill, you know, like like someone that pays $3,000 a year annual tax, what would the difference be monetary wise?
Okay, so let's keep it in simple terms. So if we had a $100,000 valuation on a property, which most of them don't, let's just say that is the case, right? Last year, their taxes would have been $825. This year, it'll be $867, $870, or $875.
Okay.
So that's the difference that we're talking about.
Gotcha.
Yeah. We wanted to put it the other way, $1 million assessment, you know, you're
Yeah.
Right.
8,000,
Okay.
yeah, $25 is opposed.
I'm not a mathematician.
So in my opinion, again, and I do this for, you know, 14, 15 towns every year, and I've seen a lot of towns that have started to do their tax rate calculation. It seems that there has been some pressure on towns with regards to spending, and we're seeing these types of increases. It's not unusual. I just did one this morning for another town, and their rate is going up $1.60. You know, they're not at $2 billion valuation, but that's a pretty significant rate increase for that town. And it's, you know, it is unfortunate, but, you know, like I tell people all the time, I'm not here to create the trends. I'm here to just kind of give you a reading of where we stand presently.
Dennis, where we have a couple new people, and I know this is obviously new to you guys, you want to explain to them what the overlay is, what that means? Just in case,
Yeah,
or to the
so
general
the
public?
overlay is the amount over and above the tax levy. Okay, so the tax levy being, if you take it, let's just put it, tax levy being the amount of money that you have to raise after you've considered all your appropriations, all your spending, and then deducted from that the revenues that you had on hand. You have a certain amount of money that you need to raise through taxation. That's called the tax levy. And so the overlay is the amount of money that you would collect over and above that specific amount that allows for, things like non-payment of taxes, contingencies for, any number of things that could come up. And
Unanticipated increases in fees.
all these things that, you do a budget, and the budget is based on a number of projections.
Right.
Right? And then when you actually sit it down to do this final thing here, I'm using the real number, right? So you guys are projecting what the state revenue sharing is gonna be, but we go and look it up on the day, we do the calculation to take advantage of grabbing all the revenues that are available for the town to use against the tax rate. So the overlay is the monies that you would collect. Now, some towns have different understandings of overlay, and they want to use it for different reasons, and so in the past, there may have been those that would say that the overlay is also intended to offset a potential loss of value through the abatement process. Abatements are when property owners come in to challenge their taxable value, and, sometimes we make adjustments. We're not always right, so we have to have, the monies that get refunded to them are essentially tax dollars that we're not collecting. Right, so that is another means of the overlay. Now, again, I don't want to get into all the other budgeting aspects of overlay, because there are other people that would tell you you can do other things with the overlay. That's not my job.
So, Mr. Chairman, what have we done historically with the overlay money? Has it been needed each year? Has it been something that we've had to use it for budget reconciliation? Or what have we done with that overlay, and is there a certain amount that is adequate?
I'm gonna refer to Colleen if she's here.
Our finance director.
Hi there. So I don't have exact numbers for
Yeah.
you. We're still finishing out prior year. And, even for this year coming forward, we started a budget. Expenses are going up, going down. And so it's sort of a bit of a cushion almost. So it's really how comfortable do we feel with the numbers. Everything that rolls in, any excess from this past year that's just wrapping up, goes back into our fund, so it determines how much we have available going forward. So I don't have an exact number. It's sort of a how comfortable do you feel with the balance, and how much sort of extra do you feel like should go into the tax rate to help? in
So I
case
guess
there
my
are some
question would
changes.
be, how comfortable do you feel with the balance? And because you're our expert, you're the one who's looking at all of our numbers, do we need a moderate overlay? Do we, are we safe doing a $58,000 overlay? Feels like we need to do one of those three options of overlay. And I really would defer to our financial professional to tell us which one is the best use of our tax dollars. Sorry about putting you on the spot,
No,
Colleen.
and that,
Yeah,
one of the things I think I can somewhat explain is, let's say at the end of the year, we all know that we're not gonna collect all of the taxes that were due to us. So, he's a mathematician, I am not, but let's say we have 200 residents or homeowners that didn't pay taxes
Okay.
at a valuation of, they had $3,000 a year. That's what this overlay is gonna help with.
That's one of the options that will help us.
Yes. Again, it'd be a budget shortfall, right? We wouldn't
Yes.
collect as much as we
Correct.
needed.
Right.
Helps to ensure you have enough operating cash on hand.
Correct.
That you don't-
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I would recommend $8.70.
We think alike, Bob.
Is
Okay, we
that's
think alike.
option 3?
Second.
The second
Second
option.
option.
Second
I-
option, oh,
that
second
was-
option.
would be
Which
my
gives you
Yeah,
about
right, right, right.
$113,000
That's the hot-
overlay.
Yeah, and I think last year, like you said, we were right around the 100,000 mark.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I
So-
move to sign as the Bridgton Board of Assessors, the assessor's certification of assessment, municipal tax assessment warrant, and certificate of commitment with the tax rate of .00870.
I second that.
That represents a 45-cent increase.
Yes. All in favor? 5-0.
All right.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you,
So,
Dennis.
from my point of view, I just need to get the signed commitment papers tomorrow morning.
Got it.
And we're gonna start working on the bills right away.
Ashley's on.
I can't wait, that's not in my budget yet.
Okay, good job. Okay, buddy. There you go.
All right, section 6B, reappointment of Carrie Castleman Ross to the Eco Maine Board of Directors. Is Carrie here tonight?
I saw her earlier, and then I don't see her here,
Okay.
so,
No, I was gonna say, if she was here, she could get up and talk.
yeah.
So I'll take a motion on Carrie.
Move to reappoint Carrie Castleman Ross to the Eco Maine Board of Directors.
I second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
I just wanted to let people know that this particular appointment does not have to be somebody from the Board of Selectmen.
Also that we thank her for being on that board because you do not often get a lot of people applying for that board. And she did a great job also.
Okay.
All right, item 7, business licenses and events requiring board approval. A, the gazebo at 56 Portland Road for a particular renewal license.
I move to approve the victular renewal license for the gazebo located at 56 Portland Road.
Seconded.
Any discussion? All those in favor? 5-0.
I, for
Thank-
one, am very glad that they are open.
I think many people are.
If you follow Facebook, you can see all the posts that came out between them
Oh,
and the
my
Naval
goodness.
Lobster Pound. I don't know who
Yeah,
who
yeah.
had the funnier ones, but I'm glad to see they're back open. All right, before we get into 8, do we want to take a break, or is everybody good to continue on?
I think we can take a break would be good if
Okay.
you folks do not mind.
Yeah, I'm
That'd be
good with
fine.
that. All right, so we'll take, what do we got for an official time here? 5:48, so let's say 5:55, 7 minutes?
Yep.
Okay. the meeting. Folks, we're gonna get the meeting started again.
Wow.
Jeez, that's,
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
All right, number 8, committee liaison reports, review of the Bridgton mooring ordinance. In your packets, can you hear me now? Okay. In your packets, you'll find the drafted mooring ordinance and supporting documents for your review. So this is where we're gonna kind of go over what was recommended by the mooring committee for the ordinance for the moorings. So I'll open it up for discussion amongst the board members. And I'll start with Bob.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. A lot of work has gone into this ordinance. The people have done a good job on it. And now it comes to a point of, do we take it to the taxpayer or do we not take it to the taxpayer? There are several good reasons to take it to the taxpayer, and there are several reasons not to take it to the taxpayer. In our town, unfortunately, we are somewhat divided. Divided with lakefront property owners and divided with people who do not and cannot afford to live on the lake. The lake is governed by the state. Excuse me. The lake is governed by the state, and the town can have ordinances within 200 feet. And we got a letter I'll read a little bit of in a minute, but the people who cannot afford property on the lake have resentment of people who can afford property on the lake. Because the out-of-staters, and I use that term not as offensive to anybody, please. The out-of-staters have bought up the properties on the lake, and the good folks cannot afford to buy any property on the lake, unfortunately, because of the cost of the properties that are there now. Make an ordinance of the mooring. It's been tried twice. And if we want to take it to a third time, I'm here tonight to vote either way. It's going to be a battle to get it through, I think, a vote by the people. One reason is because a lot of the people who live on the lake, they live in Florida, and they do not vote in the town of Bridgton. Whereas the people who do not live on the lake also live in town. And they do vote in town, and that's why it hasn't passed for a couple of times. Here, I'm gonna read this for a second here. What did I do with it? I lost it.
that's it.
I got it. I got one copy here that made all sorts of marks on. Where'd it go? Yeah, I'll find it. Find it. Relax out there. I'm coming. I haven't fallen asleep. should have.
Do you want the letters? I have the
No,
copy of the
No,
I have
letters.
several
he's got the-
copies of
he's
it.
got
I
the
have
letter.
one all marked up. I'm looking
Oh,
for
I see.
that,
Oh, I see.
we have to get through this
Do you
quicker.
think the actual ordinance?
No, he's looking for
No, he's
one he
looking
has
for
marked
the
up.
letter.
There's a letter that's marked
Okay,
up.
I've got two letters too.
Yeah, maybe I can find it in this one, yeah. Nope, that's not it.
What was the gist of what you,
The use of the property. Anyways, I've read it so many times I can tell you. The individual was upset because some other people were swimming in front of her house without asking permission. And she was very upset about that. Well, people buy property on the lake. That property ends when the land meets the water. And that nobody can control what goes on within 200 feet of their property. So if I wanted to come by my boat, throw my boat anchor in and go swimming in front of your house, there's nothing you can do about it. And I certainly can understand the lakefront owner being upset about that, because they've spent a lot of money to buy that house. However, it's always best to know what the laws are when you buy a house. So I'm starting the opening of tonight's discussion on a high and a low. The high, great amount of work has been done to put an ordinance to be voted on. That can be done. The low is, it doesn't pass. So it's up to the rest of the board. I'll go either way. I'll vote yes or I'll vote no. So thanks for letting me opening the discussion here.
Thank you, Bob. Amy?
well, I mean, I'm obviously new to the board, but I was very impressed with the mooring committee recommendations and write-up. And the thing that I got from it mostly was the protection of the resources, the natural resources and the lake. And I feel very strongly about that and what they're recommending around the protection of the natural resources and the lake. Our lakes are one of the things that attracts people to this town, and we need to keep them clean. We need to keep them free of invasive species, including milfoil, and noise pollution also from large boat engines that, and the crowding of the moorings, I think, was also an issue. And people were concerned about how many moorings there were in the lake and how many boats that equaled. And the other thing that stood out to me was the harbor master position. Do we have a harbor master now?
No. We do not.
So that would have to be budgeted, correct? Okay. And from my understanding, the harbor master does not have the power to enforce these rules. If there was an ordinance, they do not have the authority. They're not like a warden or or anything, but they can be deputized to that, apparently. But they will have eyes on the lake and on the moorings, and also would be able to report back to us. So I haven't read this whole mooring ordinance, I must say that, but I did read the whole recommendation from the committee. And I really think it was a really good a piece of research and very thoughtful, and I feel that I am very supportive of those recommendations that the committee has done. So if there is an ordinance, the ordinance has incorporated their recommendations, I will be in favor of that.
Yeah, so one of the things with the harbor master, yes, we would have to hire a harbor master. But there's just so you know, there's a lot more that goes into it than just the harbor master. There's a vehicle for him.
Right.
Or her. There's a boat, there's insurance, there's the trainings, and all. Just so you have the whole picture of it. It's not just hire a harbor master at, part-time, because obviously harbor master's not gonna do a lot in the wintertime when the lakes are frozen.
It did
Whatever.
mention, though, that there could
There is
be a
stuff they can do in
volunteer
there. Right.
group, which I sort of like that too, or people volunteering their boats also. So I sort of like that idea, that like maybe not just one harbor master, but maybe like a committee of people that are, looking at our lakes and the ordinance and how compliant people are.
Okay.
That seemed like it would have been a less expensive option.
I also read the very detailed, very well thought out proposal by the mooring committee for harbor master, and I think it certainly deserves more thought. I think thinking about what does that mean for cost for us is an important part of this, but the idea of having someone with their eyes on our lake and some limitation to the amount of boats and the way our lakes are used is very compelling. So I'm leaning towards hearing more as we go forward. Certainly not ready to make a commitment at this point.
I know you have a list, so I'll let you go, Carmen.
It's okay.
I know. I can see it.
We started this whole process, and it was stated in the material given to us by the Harbor Master Committee. The whole process was started because of a houseboat that was potentially hazardous to the lake environment, the lake quality. The state finally stepped up and solved that problem because obviously we're not the only town that has that problem. I think this is an ordinance looking for a problem to solve. There are as many questions posed by the committee and all well thought out that need to be considered by the select board. I don't think it's going to be ready for November. I think if this board is serious about going through with this year, we need to set up several workshops and even bring in people that can answer some of our questions. As for people dropping moorings because of the discussion of this ordinance, you should stop it. And that kind of behavior does not make you look good. And in these letters, several times, people have mentioned grandfathering. Well, I can tell you two things that I will press if we move forward with this. One is a net zero offset to the budget. Every dime, every postage stamp that goes to fulfilling this ordinance will be paid for by the users. Those of us in Bridgton who don't own shorefront property, who don't have moorings, I see no need for them to have to pay for other people's misdeeds. So that for me is a big one. The The other thing is, as far as grandfathering, I believe the state grandfathers is up to 1997, and that would be my choice of grandfathering. So if you're dropping a mooring now, it might not be covered. So don't waste your time and energy. But this requires a lot of work. I'm not enthusiastic about this particular ordinance. If the majority of the board feels it's important to move forward on it, we need to schedule, I'm gonna guess, at least 3 workshops. And not 1-hour meetings either. Because the committee who did this work did an excellent job putting this together. And I'm extremely grateful to you that you put forward some of the bigger questions that need to be answered by the select board. And for anybody who's got a problem with somebody dropping a mooring in front of your property and you don't think it's right, inland fisheries and wildlife. You're shaking your head like you tried it and you didn't get much.
I am, yes.
Yeah. Well,
Yes, when I can speak, I will.
well, I empathize with you that the pre-dropping of moorings in
Onto somebody else's property.
is, well, I'm not sure about the rules, the property, I don't care. I'm just saying, running out and dropping a bunch of moorings because you think we're going to pass an ordinance is not the right thing to do. So, there I am. I think it's an ordinance looking for a problem to solve, net zero effect on the budget, workshops, not going to be ready in November, lots of questions, people stop dropping moorings. That's it.
Thank you. I kind of agree with a lot of what Carmen says. You know, we definitely, if we do something, it's gotta be a net zero to the taxpayers. The grandfathering, I'm 100% in line with you on that one. What I'll do at this point is just, I guess we'll take a consensus of the board, if we wanna move forward with this, to set up workshops, or do we wanna just vote it and not move forward with it? Those are basically our 2 options.
So, I think this is eventually going to have to, in some form, happen. And I also don't want to come, the grievance department for every Judy, Jane, and Joyce who owns shorefront property and has a complaint about somebody dropping a mooring. So, this town has enough to do trying to keep up with citizens' needs. I don't want to become the complaint department for that. So, I would want to just put it aside. That's, not kill it, but put it aside.
Do you wanna put it aside and set up workshops, or just put it aside for now and reevaluate it in a few months?
Well, I don't know. If other people feel strongly that this is something that needs to be handled, then we should start workshopping it. It might take a year to do that.
Or maybe not even workshops right away, but another really detailed look at what the questions are and what we can answer within us. So maybe a really
That would be a
focused-
workshop.
That would,
Oh,
it would be a
okay.
workshop.
Okay, just a different term than I would use.
Yeah.
Then I think we should have a workshop and really look at it more closely. At least one to really kind of say, is it this year's work? Is it, do we have something we can move forward with? It doesn't seem like from now till November, we're gonna have something to put on a ballot.
Absolutely not.
Correct.
So my thinking is one workshop to really look at it, really come up with our list of questions, and then make our decision at that point. Do we put that to next year? Because it won't be implemented this year regardless.
Well, I disagree. As far as waiting on this. A lot of work has been put into it. I think what we should do with this ordinance is send it to the attorney. Let the town attorney look at it, compare it to their other town ordinance that are, that they deal with, and see how this one matches up. At some point in time, the attorney's gonna have to look at it anyways, so I think maybe we should have him do it now. We're talking workshops. I think committees worked very hard on this at workshops. I don't think we want to duplicate their work. I think what we want to do is to take their work and send it to the attorney at this point in time and see what the attorney thinks of the ordinance and whether or not we need to do any changes in it or to go with it or add changes that they know other towns are doing so that we stop wasting time and putting this aside, putting it aside, and get some action done on it. My opinion.
I hear what everybody's saying here, and I also can appreciate the amount of work that went into this by the committee, and I don't know how long this work has been done. Is anyone from the committee here? How long have you been working on this?
Over a year.
It was a year and a quarter.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah.
Working on
15
it,
months.
and it's been done since April. When we first gave it to the board said we're gonna wait until after.
Brooke, could you just come up to the mic?
Sorry.
Thank you.
Brooke Sulloway, 520 Upper Ridge Road, member of the committee. Yes, we began meeting in the beginning of 2025. Maybe we had one meeting in December of 2024. And we're done by April of this year. Presented it to the board. Board wanted to just wait until after town meeting before they talk about it. That answers those questions. I would just point out that there is a mechanism suggested, not in the ordinance, but in the preamble, that with something like 400 moorings, if there was a fee of $100 or $125, $125 would produce $50,000 a year. That ought to at least fund the harbor master. Might, after a couple of years, might be able to pay for some equipment. Maybe somebody would donate equipment. You know, there are people who want to get rid of boats that we could probably use for this. You know, we might be able to cut some corners initially, you know, and then you can plan for the future on other things like that. We're trying to protect the lakes in many ways. I think this is just a simple step towards doing that. What are we protecting from? People on the lake are worried about people who have shorefront property are worried about people that come out and plop moorings just anywhere, and people that use the lakes on a daily basis, day use, because they don't have shorefront property, also need to be protected from the people that are on the lake that want to break as many rules as they can to get all they can in front of their property. And you see that quite a bit, and that's not being regulated now because our code enforcement officer is too busy to do it and doesn't have access, doesn't have a boat, can't get down to the shorefront. All those things are.
And it's not
this is
her
just a
right to do it, it's the state's property. But we can't, the code enforcement officer can't do anything about moorings.
shoreline zoning. Yes, it's a different
She can't do
issue.
anything that is not touching the shore, the
Right.
land,
But,
anything in
but
the
there
water.
are many violations of shoreline zoning that aren't being looked at because there's nobody with eyes on the water or eyes on the shorefront.
And
So-
that's why we got a drone that was supposed to do a study.
Yes, I heard about
I
that.
believe it's being completed this year.
Yeah, they did one last year, so they've got one study, yeah. So all those things are good reasons to engage and not, you know, it's not gonna get better. You know, the pressure on the lakes is visible at all the marinas. You look how big they're getting. Their year-over-year plan is to grow. It's coming.
Thank you, Brooke.
Any more questions? I'll still be here.
Well, in light of that, and the amount of work that has gone into this and the consideration for the health of our lakes, along with seems like the conflicts in property owners, I would feel really bad about tabling this and going through a long process to actually, decide whether we're going to put this ordinance up for a vote. I think it should be sort of, I know there's probably a lot of things that are happening in the town that we need to look at, but I think this is one thing that we should look at in a fairly quick manner. Seems like it's already been over a year and a half that they've been working on it. And as Brooke said, it's not gonna get any better. There's more and more marinas, there's bigger and bigger boats with bigger and bigger engines, and it's gonna pressure our lakes and also the people that live on the lakes and the people who don't live on the lakes that want to enjoy the lakes. So that's my feeling, and so I sort of agree with Bob that this should be, if there is an attorney to look at this and see if there's something outstanding or obvious that needs to be fixed or changed, then maybe we should start there.
Okay. So my recommendation would be to start with workshop and get some of our questions answered before we send to an attorney. Again, because every time we send something to an attorney, there's a bill.
Oh, okay.
So if we
Didn't
send it
know
to the
that.
attorney and he says, okay, this, and this needs to be corrected, then we come back and we have our workshops, and then we have 10 more questions, then we have to go
Oh,
back
okay.
to the
I
attorney and
didn't know
say,
that.
Mr. Attorney, can you look at this, and there's another bill. I would be in favor of going workshop-wise. Carmen?
I think that we should identify, and the committee did a good job identifying the loose ends. I think we should, I agree, have a workshop and go through the loose ends, and
Yes.
before we submit it to an attorney to look at. And after that workshop, we may decide to do more. But I think definitely a workshop to address the questions. And it's certainly this ordinance, and the committee agrees that it's not complete at this point. So it's definitely not ready to go to the public. So I would support, if you want to go in this direction, I would support one workshop to look at those questions, see if we can come to some consensus on an answer for those, and then submit it to legal.
So I make a motion that we schedule a workshop to look at this closer and make a decision regarding next steps.
I second that.
Any discussion?
Yes. Sending it to the attorney is gonna cost money. If we lose one lake in this town, you're gonna be looking at a lot of lost money. What you're gonna spend right now on an attorney is peanuts compared to the millions of dollars that this town sits on and operates on the lakes. I do not have problems of spending money for attorneys on this as much as I do not like to spend money on the attorneys. But there are some things that you have to put a value on. Millions of dollars on a lake is well worth spending money on an attorney, in my opinion. There has been multiple workshops on what needs to be done on the moorings and a harbor master. We have 11 bodies of water in this town. I think it's well worth having an attorney looking at it in the beginning to give us a workshop to then correct what they recommend. Instead of doing it the other way around that we always do, is have the workshops, then give it to the attorney, then the attorney send it back, and then we go back to another workshop. I'm saying go to the attorney first, and then come back and correct whatever issues they have. My 2 cents.
What kind of issues would we be looking at, like issues that are not legal?
No. Mostly, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
So if you looked in the preamble that the committee did, which is extremely well done, they raised some issues that the select board needs to make some decisions on, that they also made some recommendations or, options that are available, as Brooke was just saying, different ways that we could supplement the harbor master with equipment, stuff like that. Where is it? Here it is. So,
So is that something that an attorney would?
so there are a lot of, and they bring up a lot of things that a harbor master would make no difference, like the size of boats, the types of boats that are on the lake. That's not a determination by a town ordinance, unfortunately. You guys
No.
wouldn't even want to know what my ordinance would look like.
Rowboats?
So there are some questions in here that would be easy to answer. However, Bob, thinking about it, after hearing you, Bob does have an interesting perspective. So it would actually be asking legal for recommendations or how other towns do it. But I do think it's important to get the questions nailed down that we need to answer.
Yeah.
So I still think one workshop, working through this, not necessarily, we should review all the material for sure, but definitely we need to look at the unanswered questions. So I would be willing to do a workshop. Yeah.
And that motion's still open and on the table.
Yeah, we're still just in the discussion meeting, so the motion that's on the table is to hold a workshop,
Yes.
and it was seconded, I believe, by Amy.
Amy.
So we're just still in discussion period.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, one other thing. Normally, when a motion's on the table, it eliminates input from the public. I think we should have input from the public now before we take a vote on this motion.
I'm okay with that as long as the board is.
Absolutely. I want to hear from the public about this.
All right, so what I'll do at this time is, we'll open it up for public discussion. We will keep it to the 3 minutes. As in any meeting, I've done many here with the select board and many with Deb on the planning board. If it gets repetitive, I'm just gonna ask you to move along. But generally, we don't have to allow the public to talk about these things. I don't think we've ever had a meeting where we won't let the public talk. Not saying that it won't happen. But that's generally why we do workshops, because the public, again, is invited to the workshops to listen in and give input and all that. So I'll start with Ms. Brusini.
Deb Rosini, 35 Summit Drive. Just a couple quick comments. One, since it's in ordinance form and it could apply to any town, maybe instead of sending it to our legal first, it could be sent to MMA legal, which I don't think costs us anything. The second thing is just that in the workshop, I don't know what kind of prep you want to do, but maybe it'd be good to charge the committee and the people they outreach to putting together a list of ideas that show this could be cost neutral, because that's clearly a concern of the board, and it's probably a concern of taxpayers. So committee's done a lot of work already, but if a gauntlet is put down to make it cost neutral, like you would do in a company, then, maybe they could take that challenge up. So that's just a couple ideas.
Thank you.
My name's Charles Lehman, and we have waterfront property on Highland Lake. And I was a little offended by some of the comments that were made, about rich out-of-town property owners. I built my house with my own hands, okay? Took me almost 15 years. And I live next to a right-of-way. And my neighbors fight with me all the time. Why can't I put a dock off your property?
Why can't I put a mooring in front of your house?
Why can't I put a mooring in front of your house? Well, I have a mooring in front of my house, and they swing. And I have a dock with 3 boats on it. One's a little rowboat, one's a little fishing boat, one's a pontoon boat. If I have moorings in front of my house, it's going to block my entrance. Okay? And I have neighbors that won't even speak to me because I made them get a survey for the right-of-way. They claimed that they owned half of my property. And I was proved exactly right. And, it's a little upsetting to think that anybody could just come along and put a mooring when I already have a mooring out there, or 2 moorings.
So how do you feel about a harbor master and keeping the lakes healthy and maybe limiting the amount of boats?
I want to keep the lakes healthy.
Of course you do.
And believe me, like these wakeboards, boats, they make a 5-6 foot wave, and they're washing out my shorefront. And they made a law, and they're supposed to go out, but they don't. They go right close to the shore. And I have a tree that's going to fall because and believe me, I care more about the lake. I mean, the milfoil. I'm very concerned about it, and I don't break any laws. I have a duff. The LEA wanted a vegetation between the house. I have that. I don't have a lawn that goes to the lake. I'm a lake steward. That's why I'm here.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm with Charlie on Highland Lake, and I'm going to say, I take offense to you saying affordability. There are people that have been on that lake for 80 years in the family. It's not like the other people couldn't afford the property on the lake. There isn't any more property to buy. And we pay an exorbitant amount of taxes, which we don't mind doing because we have that privilege. But the other people that are behind us that have this small right-of-way, who pay a third of the taxes that we pay, think that they can put a mooring in front of our property or encroach on my dock and whatever. And I'm sorry, I think that's wrong. So it's not affordability. People sold your property. The Mainers sold the property to us. And yes, we're not here full-time. And I'd like to know how many of the people that are on that mooring committee actually have lakefront property. Because one of them doesn't, and put a mooring in front of someone's house, hoping to be grandfathered in by this law. And that's wrong. I'm sorry. And they widened the dock that they have in the common area to make it so that there's 11 people that share it. That dock was supposed to be, you put your boat in, you pick up your people, you take it out, you bring your people back, you take your boat back out of the water. It wasn't to be leaving your boat on that dock. We own that dock that we have in our house. It's our property. It's on our property. And that's what it's supposed to be. And we are, from the LEA, we support them completely to say that we want to keep this lake safe and happy and healthy. And right now it is. You keep putting other moorings out, and the boats are. So somebody comes and puts a mooring out in front of my house. How do they get to it? They come down our private right-of-way or down our private ramp? How do they get to their boat? And would you want somebody to park a car in front of your house all day that, that you have to look at and it's not yours? And
They
yes, I
can do
don't
that in
own
the
the
right
water.
of way.
What?
They can do that in the right of way if they want to park in front of my house. And let me explain something to you. Everything I said earlier, I said on purpose to get discussion going.
Okay.
Exactly the type of discussion that you're doing right now. Don't look at me and point a finger and say, I don't like the
But
way
when
you
said
do discuss
affordability,
it.
I didn't.
Yeah, I did say that.
Perhaps you should have prefaced your statement for that.
Well,
you know.
here's what I mean. You don't know it, but I know it. There's resentment in town against people who live on the lake.
Yes, they are, but you know what?
It's not my fault the
But the people that
resentment's
owned
there,
the
but it's
property there
there.
before sold it. They had that before. Somebody had to sell it. So they had it, and then they sold it.
That's like a low blow right there, to be honest with you. Just because they didn't have the money to buy it,
But somebody had it to start with, before they sold it. Somebody owned that property beforehand, and then they sold it.
absolutely.
So you can't blame the people that purchased it if it was up for sale. How do you blame them because they could afford to buy the house? He bought a wreck of a house and redid the whole thing.
I
And,
understand.
you
I
know,
understand
so
what he
it's-
did.
But anybody can do it. But right now, there is no more property on the lake to purchase.
That's right.
So it's not somebody that,
And that's a
can-
resentment that some people have. That they can't afford it, they can't buy it, and there's no
It's not
more,
that they
there's
can't
no
afford
more
it, there's
property.
nothing there to
There's no more
purchase.
property on the lake to buy.
Right.
I'm
But
not
then
saying I'm not saying that's right or wrong.
But it shouldn't be resented because there isn't that property to buy on the lake. That's not my fault, it's not property there to buy on the lake.
No, it's
And
not.
and yes, but again, these people still want that right to stick a mooring in front of my house, and that's wrong. It's because if I want to put my boat out there, because we have another boat that's a sailboat, we don't leave it out all the
But
time.
you don't
we
own
put it on
200 feet of it that's in
No, I
front of
don't,
your
but
property.
it's also water traffic right there. And if it blocks me coming into my property,
Your
that's not
property
right
end- Your
either.
property ends at the land.
Then no one should have a dock to put out there that,
I agree with you.
then no one should have a dock. And
I
no one
agree
should
with
have a
you.
boat other than a rowboat and a kayak.
I'm not saying that. They can have.
Well, how else are
they
you gonna
can
put a
have-
boat out?
Put
How
a
are you gonna
mooring
get
out
people
there.
on and out?
They can put a mooring out there.
And how are you getting out to it?
Oh, you could swim, you could
Swim.
take it in a
Swim.
tube, you could take your
Yeah.
kayak and hook it up to the
Kayak and put
mooring and
that on
take
the
your
mooring
big
and whatever,
boat.
but
Let,
no,
let me
I'm
ask
sorry.
this,
There are
right now moorings
possibilities.
are free, right? Anyone could drop a mooring and doesn't
Yes.
cost anything.
Yes.
Well, it depends. If you go according to the state law is 2 moorings for every 125 feet, I believe it is. And it can't be that it infringes on someone else's right to come in and out of their own property with their boat.
And that
But we're
involves
not
the swing
guided
of
by
the
the
boat.
state, obviously, because we don't have a harbor master. But then again, you want the health of the lake. You don't want everybody dropping a mooring everywhere.
So I think this ordinance does put a price on moorings, right?
One mooring for
Yes.
every 50 feet. Well, you have a boat. If your boat's 20 feet long and it's on a 10-foot chain, its swing is now 40 feet, 50 feet, 20, 20, and 10. So then it takes up, one mooring takes up more than that 50 feet. And if someone else has a boat that may be a little bit bigger and it's the 50 feet, you can't fit the 2 of them on there. So you have to figure out, it's not like you have a 20-foot boat and you have 28 feet or whatever. You have to have a chain that it's on, that it can swing, and when it swings, which way is the wind going? Who else's boat's gonna swing into this? There's a whole bunch of math that you have to do to figure out how many, and that's why they said 2 moorings for every 125 feet from the state.
So are
Okay,
you
I'm gonna-
in
I'm
favor, in
Maureen,
favor?
hold on a second.
Go
Hold
ahead.
on one second. We're now getting into debating,
Yes.
okay?
Well, these are
This-
the questions, it
But it's
sounds,
also the
But
safety
again,
of
that's
the
why we
lake
do
again.
workshops.
right, exactly.
This is so we can get input from the public. We can't get into the back and forth right now. We can take their suggestions, listen to them, and move on. That's why I suggested we do the 3 minutes like we do at every meeting.
I'm sorry.
Because we're getting
I
into
took longer than my 3
public
minutes.
debate.
I apologize.
No, I'm just trying to explain what
Yeah,
the
I know.
process is.
I understand.
So at this point, I understand where you're coming from 100%. I don't own property on the waterfront. I have a lot of family members that do. But I'm gonna, at this point, ask that we just move on. We understand where you're coming from, and we'll let other people speak, and then we're gonna get into our decision of attorney, workshop, whatever we decide to do.
And yes, it's for the safety of the lake as well.
Yep.
Could I just make one quick comment? There is a public ramp. Anybody in the town could go to the public ramp.
Yep.
And wash their boat off. and
That's
take
where
the
I put my
milfoil
boat
off.
in.
Yeah.
And that
And-
protects the lake.
I know, I know.
Yes, because we don't, there's no hose by ours, and that's why the community that we live in is always very protective of our boats, that we wash them. We don't take them to any other lakes. It's only on Highland Lake. Nobody visits, anywhere else to bring anything back. And that's our little pocket that's over there. And I know most of the other pockets that are there do the same thing.
Someone's ready to speak behind
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Hi.
My name's Scott Frame. I am on Moose Pond, and I am also a member of the MPA board. Our president of the MPA is here, and we are all working hard to protect the health of Moose Pond. But just to back out into the larger picture, Robert, you started at the beginning. There are 11 lakes that are here. And these resources, you know this better than we do, are vital to the success of the town of Bridgton. Some, I don't know the exact number, supermajority of the tax base that comes into the town of Bridgton, that's the revenue that you then all manage and turn into various services, my understanding comes from the property owners around the various lakes. Whether or not that is exactly right, I think it might be substantial. What I think is important is not to believe that because people that are rimming the lake, they don't deserve something more. But I do think all of us are chartered with this responsibility to husband these really important resources to the success of this region. I think the idea of shifting from a laissez-faire kind of approach to the health of our lakes to something that is much more active is an overdue idea. The wardens, who are wonderful people doing great work, are absolutely outnumbered. They cannot cover all the lakes that are there and do the work that needs to be done. Whether it has to do with moorings, whether it has to do with wakeboard behavior, those sort of things. It's just general safety on the lake. So the mooring and the harbor master ordinance, I think, is a positive step in a concrete direction to start to actively manage this important resource. And then, based on what I read in the notes that were sent out in advance, Stuart Sulloway then outlined a wonderful series of next steps. Whether they're all right, I'm not sure. I doubt that he's sure. But they are great fodder for continued work to manage this important resource. I would encourage our town board to become much more active and start with this particular ordinance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kevin Rade, 5163 Alpine Road, just off of Moose Pond. I want to take the approach that's been taken by a couple of people here, which is talking from the top down, if you will. I'm going to go back to University of Southern Maine's economic analysis for Bridgton. It says, take care of your lakes. They're your prime basis of your existence here. In my view, this is just a mechanism to do that, take care of your lakes. And there's universal approval, I think, in town to do that. If you look at the comp plan from 14, if you look at the comp plan we just finished from 2025, there's universal support for keeping the rural character, keeping the small town character, et cetera. I think this is just, as I say, an implementation. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Yep, someone
We have
else.
someone,
Yeah.
okay, we have some on Zoom, or whatever we use, Teams.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
My name is John Sims. I'm from 79 Briar Road in the Highland Pines area of Bridgton. You have a letter in your packet from me on this matter. I had to be out of town tonight, otherwise I would be with you live, but I'm glad to be with you electronically. I'm part of a family that has been in this region for 200 years. I'm part of a family that's had a camp on the southwest arm of the lake for nearly 80 years. I'm glad to hear the select board focusing on what the adopted ordinance should look like. I think that is the appropriate place for you to be paying attention. Highland Lake is gorgeous, and it is the greatest asset of the town, as has already been mentioned. But right now, it's the Wild West on the lake. People are dropping mooring buoys just at random, any place they feel like it. There is a consensus that I hear with the select board as well as in the community. It's a mess out there. Because there's no local ordinance, there are very general and non-specific state laws that apply to the governing of the mooring buoys. It really is time for Bridgton to step up and stop the lake grab that's going on at the present time. And it's time for Bridgton to step up like Naples and Harrison have done and have some sort of an ordinance that's enforceable. I would like to actually give special thanks to Trish Morrissey for bringing this matter to our attention. She's the chair of your Harbor Master Mooring Committee, and that's the ordinance that you're considering tonight. In June, she placed a mooring buoy at the corner of our property and our neighbor's property, the Foley's. And that mooring buoy has yet to be used. Now, the Foley's, as well as our property, comprise over 1,300 feet of pristine shoreline on Highland Lake. Trish educated us that we could have mooring buoys every few feet along that 1,300-foot expanse because there is no local ordinance. So, I hear, it's legal to drop a mooring buoy out there. Well, it may be legal, but it is unethical, sometimes devious, and plain bad behavior. Now, I think a mooring buoy ordinance does need to be in place. You need to have teeth that can be enforced, but it needs three critical elements. First of all, landowners should have to be required to give written permission for a mooring buoy to be put in front of their property. Secondly, the grandfathering clause. I've heard suggestions that be 1997. I think that's an excellent idea. The third issue is you need mechanisms to be able for the town and landowners to enforce that ordinance. And quite frankly, the landowners would be glad to assist you in that as volunteers. So that may be something you want to consider. Now, the town has rules and regs regarding where you can build on a lot and how close to the lake. And those rules and requirements are to maintain the beauty and the character of the lake. A mooring ordinance is in that same category. As has been noted already, there will be continuing growth pressures on the lake, and there are going to be more and more problems like this. I would urge you as well to pass an ordinance with strong grandfathering provisions to move Highland Lake to its previously pristine state and to stop the bad behavior and speculative behavior that's going on right now. I do thank you for your time. I have the opportunity to address you. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else online that would like to make a comment? No? Okay. Thank you. All right, so I think at this point, we have a motion on the table. We've had discussion, and now we need to vote on this motion. The motion before us is to hold a workshop at a predetermined date. We'll have to figure that out after the motion, whether it passes or not. And then we can set dates and go from there. So at this point, all those in favor of holding a workshop? All those opposed? 4-1 with Mr. McCadden as the negative. Okay, so now, do we want to set the workshop meeting now?
No.
Or we
I-
can talk about it at
No,
our
I think
agenda
we should
setting?
set the meeting date
I,
now.
I second that.
My suggestion would be late August or first week of September.
I think we're going out too far. I think we should do it sooner if possible.
Well, we do have, Ashley,
Yes.
we do have to publicly notice this and.
Yeah,
what
we
is
have
the
to
time
advertise it. Usually I think it's 7 days before the meeting. We put it just like on our website and we can advertise it in the paper
frame? In
as
the
well.
paper and all that, okay.
The advertisement would come like the weekend of the posted meeting date.
Brooke, are you still here?
Yes.
Do you guys have any objections towards like later in August, like mid to late August? Do you know anybody's schedules? Like, I know you talk with a lot of the committee members, so.
I think it's wise to have it during the summer when you'll get input from people that use the lakes and,
Yeah.
I'm sure that we'll have some representation from the committee at your workshop.
Okay.
Can't guarantee it'll be everybody, but
Well,
Colin, Holm, Jeff, and Will, Libby, and I are all ready to move our schedules around and make sure somebody's there.
Okay.
To do it in between the August meetings.
No, I did my timer. We don't need that anymore. All right, so we have our meeting on
The 11th and the 25th.
the 11th and the 25th. So why don't we, everybody okay, well, we can't do the 18th because that's planning board. We could do it a different night.
I think that's what you're asking.
I think
What are you
that's what we'll have
talking,
to do.
August? Is that-
In August,
You're in
yeah.
August, okay.
Yeah, the week of the 17th.
Week of the 17th?
Well, the 18th is the planning board meeting.
Yep. So I would, my suggestion would be August 19th. Which is a
And would it be an
Wednesday.
evening meeting so everyone could get here?
Yeah, we would do the normal like 5 o'clock
Okay,
start.
that's fine with me. August 19th's fine.
At 5 PM?
At 5 PM, is everybody good with that?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so we'll set the workshop for the mooring ordinance on August 19th at 5 PM.
Any other public comment?
okay.
All right, not on that,
No.
because we're done, we voted
Yes.
on it.
No.
All right, so I've got two different agendas here, and I know this one had different.
This one is the correct one.
Yeah, I know, that's that one. This one skipped over
Oh, yeah.
skipped over the public comments.
Number 9.
Yeah, so number,
Yeah, see, I told you
depending
there
on
was
which
one that didn't have
version
They
you
all
have,
have the
which version
with
they
public
have.
comment.
They have that one, okay. Number 9, public comments on town business. Again, each speaker may be limited to 3 minutes. So at this point, we will open this up for public comment on anything that is not on the agenda for town business.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, board members. My name is Mark Lopez, 438 Commons Drive, Bridgton. Great points on the mooring ordinance to start. But that's not what I'm here for tonight, Mr. Chairman. I'm here to express my concerns relative to the content of the police report from 6/13, which mentions the actions and statements made by a member of this board. Now, full disclosure, I have a redacted report. It mentions neither the name of the board member nor the reporting officer. I am, however, told that the board member referenced in this report is Board Member Strum. This report indicates that Board Member Strum
attempted to get a driver out of a ticket, told the officer he was wrong for issuing a citation, and then made sure that he knew she was a recently elected board member. This is not my interpretation of the report. These are actual statements from the report. Now, perhaps Board Member Strum deserves the benefit of the doubt. Maybe she did not know that election to this board does not come with the ability to interfere with a police officer doing his job. Perhaps she lacked the awareness to understand that election to this board does not give her the right to intimidate a police officer. I hope she understands that now, but that doesn't change the content of this report. Her actions were a breach of the code of ethics and conduct that all elected officials are expected to maintain. They violated the trust that the voters placed in her when they elected her. And believe it or not, they are potentially criminal under Maine law. This type of matter has the potential to really blow into something much bigger than it has to be. I don't think the board wants this, the town doesn't need it, and I doubt Member Strum wants it either. And we're all human, we all make mistakes, and we all deserve the right to be forgiven, provided we acknowledge our mistakes, we apologize to those that we've affected, and we vow that those mistakes will never happen again. Accordingly, I would respectfully request that Board Member Strum acknowledge what she did was wrong, apologize to her fellow members of this board, assure the voters of this town that it will not happen again. And I also think that she should apologize to the officers she interfered with, and while she's at it, thank him for doing his job and doing it well. And, Mr. Chairman, I believe I have about 52 seconds left. I would be willing to cede the remainder of my time to Board Member Strum if she'd be willing to take me up on my recommendations. If she doesn't, I got more to say, and I'll reserve my time.
Okay. What I can tell you is we did discuss this in executive session. I can't go into the details, obviously, of executive session with
Okay.
personnel matters. I will refer to Carmen and what are your suggestions if we should. It's entirely up to the select board member if they want to.
We handled this in executive session. If Selectman Strum wants to respond, she can.
Okay. Yeah, and I think that should she elect not to respond, I think it's incumbent upon on this board to discuss this publicly, because if you don't publicly condemn what has happened here, you are condoning it. So you should really make a public statement as a board. And another thing we should look at is we should look at having a recall ordinance. I understand a recall provision. I understand we don't have the ability to do that in town. This is an instance that would justify it. So I think the board has to make a public statement here to say, okay, we don't condone what happened here.
So what I can say, I'll leave it up, as Carmen said, if Amy wants to respond, she can. I'm following what the advice was from our MMA attorney.
I understand.
Of how we
Yeah.
have to handle this.
Yeah.
I can't make a public comment right now about it.
Yeah.
Because of issues that happened, obviously, in executive session.
Mhm.
We are aware of the situation. I can assure you, I'm dealing with it. I just can't publicly tell you what's the outcome at this point.
Okay, will there be some public proclamation at some point of what happens or what the,
Yes, I have to,
there should be some disciplinary action as a board.
what I have to do is after I have our executive session, I need to go back with the attorney
Yeah,
and explain to him what we did, and then more will come from that.
okay. Thank you.
Dan, are we still on public comment?
We are, yes.
Kevin Rade, 5163 Alpine Road. We all been getting the agenda for about a year or so. And it's always I have my markings for tomorrow morning's meeting, so I can remember what happened tonight. But we've had a little box on the back since about a year and a quarter ago with about 5 or 6, 7 or 8 items
Oh,
there.
it's not there anymore. We must
It's
have gotten
not
all
there
that stuff
anymore.
done.
Is this a miracle? Who did this?
Perhaps there's some new select board members.
Or perhaps it's the new town manager.
No, or that, or that.
That's all I had to say.
Actually, I'm glad you brought that up, because,
No, that's okay.
no, we're not in, we're in public comment, I'm
Do we
sorry.
have any other public comment? All right, hearing none. We move on to number 10, select board comments and discussion items. And I'll start down at the end with Mr. McCann.
I'd like to go a little further on what was just brought up about no box on the agenda because all the items have been taken care of. And the reasons all the items on the box before have been taken care of by the new town manager. And a lot of those items in that box were taking a long time to get done. And his priorities were to get old business taken care of, which he has done. He's done an excellent job doing it. And because he's done such a great job doing it, we can now make a new box and fill it up with new projects that have to be done. The second item I have is the town landfill opened Sunday, 2 weeks ago,
Yes.
and was well received by the good folks that used it. And I think you'll find more and more people using it. It's been well used the last 2 Sundays. It was, included by you.
I've only gone on Sunday for the last 2 weeks.
And the other thing I had was, as you know, one of my gripes, let me change that, one of my concerns is that the town office is closed on Friday. Now, I know that the employees like having 3 days off in a row. My recommendation would be to change that to be Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and open a town office on Friday. Why do I want the town office open on Friday? It's a very busy day in town. People from out of state are coming in to register boats, whatever. Now, some people say, well, you can do that on your telephone. Well, let me tell you, as a senior citizen, when I call into a place and I say, I want to do this, and they say, oh, well, let me transfer you to so-and-so. All right. So they then transfer me to so-and-so, who then tells me that, well, that's not her department. You have to talk to so-and-so and the other. Well, the next thing you know is I am totally confused. I hang up. I blame my phone. And I call my daughter.
Oh, your poor daughter.
It does do that.
And my daughter takes care of the problem. So I'm not the only one out there like that. Some people like to be served or taken care of eye to eye and not eye to eye phone. So it's something to think about. I'll bring it up again and again, the same as I did the dump, landfill, transfer station, whatever name you want to call it, make everybody happy. And The other thing I just wanted to point out was that my conversations tonight on the ordinance, the mooring ordinance, was not to insult property owners on a lake. It was to point out a very important part of what happens in town, and that is a large number of people who live on a lake are gone and do not vote in this town. A large number of people who live here year-round do vote, do resent, for whatever reason. Not my fault they resent it, they have problems with it, but, and I just want to make sure that all the good lakefront property people who are listening to me tonight, I totally respect them and enjoy them being here, especially with them spending their money. That's all I have. Thank
We
you.
laugh at that, but really.
Thank you. Amy?
Well, I just want to thank everybody for bearing with me as I learn this role. I've been learning a lot so far. And I think Maureen and I, as new members, also have some suggestions maybe to make the transition easier. And I think Maureen can articulate that better. But let me just say, my career for 35 years was being a nurse, and I was always in clinical, and I was an emergency department nurse. And for nurses, one way that we communicate to make sure there's a continuity of care and safety, there's safety, to keep things safe, is we have a report. And we tell, if you're leaving, you tell the oncoming shift and the nurse what you've been doing, and so they can continue the safe care. And they do the same thing, and you both have a chance to discuss it, and I think that might be a possible guideline when we think about a possible orientation for new members, because to be perfectly honest with you, I mean, I feel very welcomed by the board, and not to say that I don't, but I don't know what the old board member, the people who left were working on. So I have no continuity of care here. And so it would be great to do that.
So, yes, I am working on an orientation for new select board members, and so many things, and I want to hear what has been going on prior. Carmen, you mentioned the harbor master history, and I thought, oh, that's good to know. So we're learning it along the way, but it's really nice to get an idea of what's in the works, what's going on, and I don't think there's never an intentional intent to not share. It just didn't happen kind of organically. So we're going to set up a process for that to work. We're going to be sharing a whole lot of things. As the new select board members, I think we just have a good insight into what's out here. And I want to just thank the board members and the public for welcoming as much as they have. It's been really quite wonderful. I have had this week, I have met with at least 4 or 5 department heads, getting to know what's going on in our town, and it has been so educating. And we have an amazing town, and we have amazing staff that are working for us all every day. And so excited to be here and excited to move forward. And hearing from public, we want to hear from you guys if there's things that are important to you.
Thank you. Carmen?
I think we should think about doing a planning session in maybe late September, October, where we look at overall priorities for the select board concerning projects we have started or projects we have talked about, or so We did that a couple of years ago. GPCOG facilitated it. I know that that service is available still, and it's free of charge to the town, so I think we should be thinking about that.
Okay.
And then we will fill up the box.
Yeah.
That's it.
All right, I just have a few things. First, I want to thank everybody in the town that contributed to our 4th of July celebrations. The amount of time and effort that is put in by the town staff, whether it's the police department, the fire department, EMA, town staff, public works, transfer station, it's an enormous undertaking for what we have here in Little Bridgton, Maine. You know, we had, I believe the official number I saw online somewhere was 2,589 registered runners for the 4 on the 4th. Fireworks, chief, I want to say was close to 4,000, if not more, people. Leaving the 4th of July fireworks, which happened to be on July 3rd, but leaving that night, you know, we see like mass mayhem of people just coming out in cars. We've utilized drones down at the fireworks. We have them positioned in strategic places like the end of Depot Street, down by Magic Lantern Rennie's. We have one over by Norway Savings Bank. That there's a crew monitoring that, and then there's all the fire department personnel, PD personnel on all those streets, letting people come and go. We emptied Stevensbrook Elementary School of over 4,000 people, and I believe it was 22 minutes. And had traffic flowing back to normal.
Nice.
So again, I just want to, thank all the different departments that helped out on that. It was, in my eyes, it was a great success here for the 4th of July. And again, I enjoy everybody being here. The other thing I do want to mention, now people might say I'm a little biased because I am a fire department member, but a big kudos to our fire department. This past Sunday, at around 11 o'clock, 10:45, 11 o'clock, when we talk with mutual aid coming in and helping us, we do the same for them. We had 7 or 8 members that went mutual aid over to the town of Otisfield for roughly, by the time I think they said it was all done, was 5.5 acre wildfire. Last report I saw was 17, maybe 18 towns, plus the forest rangers. They brought in helicopters, and personnel on the ground, I heard, was over 75 firefighters battling that wildfire. So I just want to give a kudos to all the fire departments in the area, because without them, they come to us just as much as we go to them, and again, I just want to thank them. The last point I want to bring up, and I know Donnie will kick me under the table afterwards, but I do want to get somehow some good pricing on phone service for at least one line into the town office for the select board. We're required to post our home addresses online, which, fine, I can get them on anybody because it's, public. But we also have to give you a way to contact us. So if you wanted to call me and say, I want to talk to the chairman, they're giving out my personal work cell phone. I have a little issue with that. I don't have an issue talking with people. I will, as Deb can say, I will talk to anybody at any given point. I would rather just do it on a business line, so I'm not spending a lot of time,
Your problem is you know everybody. I understand, and I totally agree.
Yeah, so I just wanna see, just get some official pricing. I know we're in the process of switching over, and you and I talked about this the other day, but I talked with a few members. We don't have to do one for every single member of the board, but I think if we do just one line, and that, I would monitor that voicemail, whether it's, somebody calls for Maureen, I can just call her up and say, hey, this call came in for you.
Or you could do one for Dan, two for Maureen,
Well, the problem with that,
One
I
by
come from a telecommunications background. The problem with that is every time you do a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, and a 5, you have to pay
Oh, well, then
each
don't do that.
time for those.
Don't do
Even though it's just one number, they're actual phone lines that they have to occupy.
Maybe we could just do it for the chair.
And that's what I was saying, do it for the chair, and
I
then
don't
if I'm
mind,
on.
my phone number's out there, I don't mind,
Yeah.
it's not a problem. Most of the time, I let it go to
Voicemail.
answering machine, and
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
call people back anyway, so, but I
But just a
recognize the
suggestion I
issue that you
is
have.
Just let's take a
Um,
look at it, or, however we could do that. Other than that, I am good.
Thank you all for coming.
No,
We're not done yet.
Oh, we're not done, well, sorry.
He's gotta close it out.
Darn, I was almost out the door.
You were almost out the door, but no, we have a town
You've been here
manager's
all day,
report
right?
next.
All done, all done.
So I will turn it over to our town manager.
Thank you. First of all, Mr. Chairman, Nikki is working on that request by you. I don't think we have to worry about Mr. McHatton, because when he doesn't find his daughter, he finds me. So that's been a regular occurrence for 14 months, but that's fine. I want to echo Dan's comments regarding the 3rd and the 4th of July. The public really does not know the extent of our staff, all of our organizations that help us plan these things, the public safety issues. I could go right down the list of so many folks, not only, with the town, but associated with us. And I usually don't worry about the criticism, because in my previous life, I got criticized all the time. So over the years, I took the good with the bad, but I have to tell you that with all the efforts by a lot of people here this year, this July, we've done, I think, a much better job in a lot of different ways. And that is kudos to every department head, our volunteers, everyone. So I just want to tell you all that. A couple different things. GPCOG, that's the Greater Portland Council of Governments. We've been meeting with a safety task force, and the study for quite some time now is on vehicle issues on the 302 corridor. I've been dealing with good folks from GPCOG, as well as some of the area town managers along the corridor. So there'll be a report out eventually, and see what, maybe some things can change with speeding and other situations, but, I'm not gonna say that officially. I don't wanna really get into the bridge projects, although I did site visits, and it's gonna be a fiasco. I won't get into exactly how some of this happened, but I know that these projects will be done, hopefully at the same time. Because they're going on at the same time, so we're all gonna be inconvenienced at the same time.
That is this Main State project, right? It's MDOT.
It
Okay, I want people to be sure,
It is-
be
it is.
aware whose project that is.
it is MDOT. Yes, Carmen.
Could I ask one question about that? Is the detour sign that's on the top of Depot Street,
Yes.
it's sort of making people think that they can't go park in that lot behind Rennie's.
It's blocking a whole lane.
Yeah.
There's enough room on both lanes to get through. I've noticed that. There's a sign beyond it that we were asked by some local folks to say businesses down here are open. And the parking lot, I can have that on there too, but yes, it's open, and I haven't had any complaints about that. You have, I'm
Well, I've
sure.
seen it on Facebook. People are
Well,
complaining about it. That they don't, they're complaining that they don't think it's open. And then people are parking on the street, and there's parking spots on the street that are it's really tight now.
I can discuss that with a
I mean,
couple
if they could
folks.
just move
but
it down, maybe? Yeah, I don't know.
Amy, I'm not gonna tell you I can do it
Yeah.
yet. I wanna make sure that DOT and a whole bunch of other
Right.
folks are involved in that decision. They put them there,
Yeah,
so I think they should listen to us. That's what we'll do. Yeah.
okay, thank you.
No, that's legitimate, absolutely. Public Works, since I've last seen you, had an open house that went very well. The director did a great job, our folks did a great job, Bruce, thank you. Well-attended, the interest there by the public was very good. Sundays at the transfer station have started. The first customer was Mr. McCadden.
Good job, Bob.
That's all I'm gonna say, that's all I'm gonna say about that. I did have a meeting with the facility manager at the hospital as well as the president. There are some things that, I hope will become clearer in the future regarding the town. We'll see what services we can provide them, and it was a good meeting, and we're all gonna get back to one another in a few weeks, so I will keep you updated on that. We are and have been interviewing for the transfer station foreman, which if you folks out there don't understand how important that is, that's a very important position. Bruce and Nikki and I have been interviewing. We have one more tomorrow, and then we hope to make a decision and keep the continuity and the staff in place and, taking care of the public because they do a good job. All people do online is complain about the transfer station. That's not fair. They do an outstanding job for us. So with that,
They do.
I think I'm finished. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Chairman.
All right, item 12, treasurer's warrants.
Move to approve treasurer's warrants 117, 118, 119, 120, 121, 122, and 123.
Second.
All in favor? 5-0. All right, dates for our next meeting are going to be July 28, 2026 at 5 PM is our regular meeting. August 11th, 2026 at 5 PM is a regular meeting. I will add in here August 19th, 2026 at 5 PM is the workshop on the mooring ordinance. And then August 25th will be a regular meeting at 5 PM. And with that, I will take our favorite motion.
Motion to adjourn?
I second it.
All in favor? Thank you all.
And don't go running off, there's
Yeah.
We have to
Yeah, we
sign,
have-
oh my God, there's a lot of
we have-
signatures.